ESPN 1420, ESPN1420.com. Welcome back into the Great Scott Show, the Great Sports Callers Open Think Tank, and very pleased at this time to be joined by our good friend, former Turlings Rebel, former Ragin' Cajun, former Saint, former Carolina Panther quarterback, Jake Delhomme. And Jake, I know you've been busy, my friend, but appreciate you taking the time. How are things?
Everything is fantastic. I probably busy like everyone else, but I can't complain one bit.
Well, it's Super Bowl week, and each week it's just constant, whether it's media day. I mean, they met with the press Monday. They had media day yesterday. They got press conferences today. It's you turn on TV, it's in your face. When you see Super Bowl week kind of play out on TV a little bit, does it bring you back to your own Super Bowl experience?
It really does. You know, you think of all the. I just think of what a fantastic week it was. You know, I know I can go back and I can remember vividly what we did from the time we landed on Sunday till the time we boarded the plane Monday morning after the game. So it was a fantastic week. Ended, you know, obviously the last 4 seconds wasn't what we we thought it would be, but it was a great week. And you know, as a player. Yeah, I think right now we're getting inundated with all the media and all the interviews and things like that we see on TV. But as a player, you really don't see that because you're working. I mean, you're working from sun up to sundown. I know, especially on Wednesdays and Thursday of this week, the week of the Super Bowl. That's when you're doing most of your work, and then Friday is just kind of make sure everything's wrapped up and can maybe spend a little time with the family on Friday. I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes. And Saturday is game day.
So
when I say game day is that you're gone. I'm
Yeah.
assuming they're gonna teams will go to a different hotel because that's exactly what most of the teams do, and you're kind of you're secluded and ready for the game on Sunday.
Yeah, so some players I've talked to that have been in the Super Bowl, they claim that the week was a blur, but they remember the game. But for you, you kind of remember the entire experience, start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, it is a blur in some aspects, but I really do remember it all pretty darn well. You know, it's just I think for myself, I tried to soak it all in, but yet not let it be bigger than what it was. You know, it was you had to think of it as, yeah, it's just another game, but your confidence is so high. And I think that's the biggest difference because, one, obviously, you won probably 10 to 12 games, let's just assume, throughout the course of the season. So, obviously, you played well. And now you've won 2 in a row or 3 in a row, whatever it may be, if you're a wild card or not, and you're in the Super Bowl. So the confidence is high and everything. You just feel real good about what's going on the field.
Jake Delhomme, our guest, 2 quarterbacks playing Sunday. Both have won Super Bowls. One of them, Tom Brady. Jake played against. The other's Russell Wilson, and I kind of find him tough to evaluate at times, Jake, because I feel like in today's sports, everybody wants to either say that a quarterback is elite or not good, and really there's so much in between there. But when it comes to label him as good or really good or elite, he's tough to evaluate, I guess, based on his team. Obviously, I think he's a good player. You know more about playing quarterback in the league than the rest of us. What's your evaluation of Russell, and where do you think he ranks among some of the top quarterbacks in the league?
Well, I think elite's a very small category. You know, I truly believe Aaron Rodgers is elite. I believe Tom Brady's is, you know, elite, and I think Peyton Manning is. Those are the ones that I just kind of think are pretty much head and shoulders above the rest, and you know, and if Andrew Luck gets any kind of help whatsoever, he'll be the next one. And I look at elite as the guy that each and every year they're going to win their division and they're in the playoffs. You know, not a good year one year and, they miss it the next year. You know, and things, because you have a lot of good quarterbacks. For those elite ones, it doesn't matter what happens throughout the course of the season, be it injuries and things of that nature. They're going to get their foot in the door and get in the playoffs. So I think there's a pretty wide margin just between, you know, those top 3 and the fourth one kind of on the cusp of getting there. But Russell's unique. One, they play in a great home environment. That's a difficult place to go and win, and their defense is fantastic. But I think we have to give him a lot of credit because of the plays that he makes in the fourth quarter. He is good throughout the course of the game, the first three, but he's better in the fourth, and that's something that the truly good ones really that's when they shine, and that's something that I think is pretty evident with him. The game doesn't get too big for him because the Packer game, really, he played extremely poor for the majority of that game. And then it seems like they decided to do some, zone read option stuff, and things just kind of started working for him. And the game really slowed down, and he made some great throws and just did some smart things. But if he comes out and wins another Super Bowl, he's going to be kind of bordering on that category of where he'll get paid like an elite quarterback. Let's just say that.
Oh, yeah, $20 million guaranteed up front, and then more down the line after that. Jake Delhomme, our guest. Where do you, and it's just your opinion, but where do you rank Drew Brees in terms of that category?
I think Drew's right there. I mean, I think he's fantastic, but Drew is I'll always consider it Drew and then the Roethlisberger. I'd like to see another, solid year from Romo, Phillip Rivers, those guys. I think and they're very good quarterbacks. But when you say elite, to me, I'm thinking that the cream of the crop, these are the guys. And that's why I think, the three I mentioned earlier. But Drew, obviously, fantastic quarterback. But my biggest thing is that are you in the dance year in and year out? I think that's kind of the one that those are those true elite quarterbacks.
Jake Delhomme, our guest, and the answer to a trivia question we had earlier this week, the longest touchdown pass in Super Bowl history. Who was it? Jake Delhomme, the Machine Muhammad, 85 yards to Moosh back in that memorable Super Bowl. And somebody, we got a couple of Jake Delhomme to Steve Smith. Some folks don't remember it was you to Moosh. What do you remember about that play? Because I know you're talking about replaying the Super Bowl in your mind. That specific play, what was if you can remember, what was the call at the line? Was that it all the way? Did you check into us? Take us through that famous Super Bowl play.
No, that was a call it and run it type play. It was a play action pass. It was 135 Exxon. And Exxon is just a concept where it tells pretty much everyone what to do. The 135 is just our protection. And that incorporates what our offensive line would do, and then the fullback and halfback with their responsibilities and checkdowns where they would be located at. And quite honestly, the funny thing is that all the touchdowns we scored in the Super Bowl were plays that we ran our first minicamp that year. So I love when people talk about, they're going to make the adjustments at half, and it's like, okay, whatever. How much adjustments they're going to change one little thing, but you haven't even gone through your whole game plan yet. I mean, you don't know how many times you've had the ball. I think that gets kind of used a little too much sometimes. So that's what I think it's funny, all the touchdowns we scored in the Super Bowl. We ran 31 trap, we ran 82 cold wide not, 72 Reno, and 135 Exxon. Those were our touchdowns. Those were plays we had in our first minicamp in May of that year. Just the basic, your true core plays. So that was just a true core play that we ran once or twice every game. And you just read it. It has man answers. It has zone answers. It has blitz answers. It has all that. And it was I check for Moose first, and then I kind of do a high-low read on the backside with the tight end dragging, and Steve Smith coming on top of him on the in route down to my two check downs. Well, for whatever reason, I kind of got maneuvered out the pocket, and I just drifted left. And Musin, to his credit, never gave up on the route and kept going. And their safety did not get depth. And Moose just kept running, and I was able to lay it out there because he didn't get the depth safety that he needed to get, and we were able to hit it. So it's not how you draw it up on paper for that play, but we just extended the play and made something happen.
Jake Delhomme, our guest, and Rodney Harrison gave you a little bump when you were running down the field, and you guys exchanged words. And I don't know how much you would care to say or want to say, but my guess is you and Rodney don't send each other Christmas cards every year, do you?
Well, you know what? That was quite honestly just I was running down the field. I'm looking around to see if there was any flags, and kind of had my arms raised up, and I figured if I got anywhere near him, he'd try to push or shove because that was him. He was He's one of those guys that always tries to do extra after the whistle. He was that guy. And I thought I was going to draw an extra 15, but I didn't. But no, it's that's all in fun whenever you play. You just kind of you get after it, and it's you're at the pinnacle of your career, so emotions are high, and everybody's trying to win.
No doubt, spirit of competition. Jake Delhomme, our guest. Jake, want to ask you about Deflategate. First of all, as somebody who quarterbacked a long time in the NFL, enlighten our audience a little bit on the process from your end when the league checks the balls, when you get ready for game time. Were you ever part of that process, or were you nowhere near it?
Yes, twice a year. Toward the end of training camp, when we broke training camp and we went back to Charlotte, that was usually going into the third preseason game. One day, whatever it may be, I would go in the equipment room. Well, you're in the equipment room every day because basically that's the locker room, so to speak. And you had a bunch of bags of balls, and hey, you need to check the balls. I'm like, well, no, just do them how you do them for practice. I wasn't one of those guys that really worried about the balls, and I would say, yeah, okay, they're fine. And then we'd do it again. They'd always come ask me again right around the bye week. That's whenever you're kind of usually somewhat middle of the season or whatnot. And then that was it. And the referees get them before the game, and they do put a mark on them, be it an initial with a Sharpie or some kind of little stamp right on the point of the ball somewhere to make sure that they were properly, looked at and they had
Sure.
the right amount of pressure. But I can only remember one time playing in a game where I had an issue with the football, and we were playing the New York Giants on a Sunday night, December 28th. I remember exactly, 2008. And it was the first play of the game, and it was a pass. And I got the ball, and it felt like it had Vaseline all over it. And I hurried up, and I flipped it to the other side, and I felt it again. So I went immediately to my check down to D'Angelo Williams. And, and I told the ref, I said, get that ball out of there. It has Vaseline. And that was coming from the defense and offensive linemen because it was so cold that evening. They'd put some Vaseline on their arm.
Gotcha.
And that was the only time I ever remember having an issue with the ball.
What would be the benefit, in your opinion, of a deflated football? And deflated to an extent. Obviously, it's not flat.
I think the biggest thing, I know if I'm a quarterback, especially if it's wet weather and or even like really cold, if it is kind of deflated somewhat, you can kind of dig into it a little more with your fingers and get a better grip on it. Obviously, wet weather, same thing. You can kind of dig a little bit more into the football. That's one thing. And then I truly believe, I know toward the latter part of my career, you break your thumbs here and there, you break a finger, and you're not strong. Your grip strength is not nearly as strong as it used to be. That's why you see some of the older quarterbacks using gloves. But I knew if I got hit later on in my career, my strength wasn't nearly honestly, it wasn't adequate enough to hold on to the ball. I would fumble it. It was just I couldn't grip as hard because I had some injuries to the hand, and so that's why you see guys wear gloves. Well, obviously, if it be deflated, I could probably hold on to it a little bit better. And then also for running backs and things of that nature. If the ball is deflated, you can kind of press into it and dig into it a little bit more when you have your 5 points of pressure with your fingers on the ball and also pulling it into your side.
So you're not going to fumble as much.
Well, that's kind of, I mean, when you think about it, if you can squeeze something a little bit tighter, then obviously
Sure.
You'd have a better grip on it.
Jake Delhomme, our guest, ESPN 1420, ESPN1420.com. Do you believe the Patriots had no knowledge of this locker room attendant who reportedly took the game balls into the bathroom and purportedly possibly deflated the balls a little? Do you feel like their hands are clean on this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I'd hate for something, drastic to come out of this because, look, they're a heck of a football team with a fantastic quarterback, and you'd hate that something, we'd have to talk about something and go stoop down to that type of level. So, hopefully there's nothing that comes out of this. I'm not really sure what to believe, but the only thing I do know is that, if there is an issue with the ball, a quarterback obviously feels it every play. So, you would think, they'd have something, something to say about it. But I don't know. If this was an issue, then why the refs haven't said anything earlier on throughout the course of the year or years, whatever it may be, because they're touching the football every play. They're setting it every play. And if there's a distinct difference in PSI in the ball, you would think, they would know, being they're going to handle those footballs every play.
Your former GM, Marty Herney, for the Panthers. He was the GM during your NFC Championship run and Super Bowl appearance. He came out and said, I'm not trying to say that the Patriots are an evil empire. I'm not saying that we didn't lose fairly. He said, I don't want to sound like a sore loser, but his whole point was based on, Spygate and now recent allegations, whether they're true or not, it still kind of leaves that thought in my head, what if? And it was weird. He was kind of walking that line, Jake, of trying to come out and say, again, I'm not saying this is why we lost or something definitely happened, but I am admitting that, there are some nights whenever I go to bed wondering, did they gain some kind of advantage, whatever it might be. And he referenced, he used the word rumors a lot, rumors around the league about this organization. Do you feel like Herney stands alone in that sentiment when it comes to the Panthers organization, or do you or maybe others that you played with or played under still wonder that a little bit?
Well, I think, for Marty to mention something in that regard, knowing Marty the way I do, maybe there is some things that he might have been told or he was privy to some information maybe some of us were not, for him to even say something like that. Because I do know Kurt Warner has brought that up this week, talking about their Super Bowl loss to New England. And Marshall Faulk, obviously,
always
he
right.
brought it up. And,
yeah.
Because their point was they put in some brand new things for the Super Bowl that week, and New England had the correct checks to it and things they hadn't run all season.
Right.
So there were some questions to that. I haven't been shown anything otherwise. I think whatever evidence or whatever they might have had or had not, I think one film guy ran off to Hawaii or something like that, and the NFL shredded the evidence. I think just a lot of it is probably more frustration that, we were so close, and you'd never know, was there something that they could have had that could have cost 3 points? But, when you look at it, we played a football game, we had 60 minutes, and we got beat on the last 4 seconds.
Is that, if you don't mind me asking, for you, do you have that thought cross your mind like Marty, or for you, is it more the plays that just whether it be the kick out of bounds, whether it be, 1 or 2 seconds off on a route early in the game, is that the stuff you remember more about the game?
I always believe don't complain, don't explain, just find the solution. That's
right.
kind of always the mantra, that I wanted to play with and I wanted our team to kind of to take on. Let's not complain, don't explain if we do something wrong. Let's just find a solution. And we didn't find enough solutions in that 60 minutes of play. And quite honestly, if there was something that they had, then I know the way I feel personally is like I would love to be able to say, okay, yeah, you might have had something, but we beat you anyway. I know that would be my mindset. So
Understood.
That's kind of how I look at it.
Jake Delhomme, our guest. A couple more for you, Jake. Back to just the game on Sunday, and it's been a rough year for the league. It started with the Ray Rice situation, and now a lot of focus on Deflate, but we do have a game on Sunday, the Super Bowl. Who do you think wins this game?
Wow. I think last year I went sentimental and said Denver, kind of, maybe hoping for Peyton and whatnot. But I just think New England's really playing well. I think Seattle, their 2 playoff games, they didn't look all that well. I think Carolina, for quite honestly, I think a team that wasn't ready to take that step, played them a little bit closer than anyone expected. And in Green Bay, for all intents and purposes, Green Bay beat them last week. If not for somebody not just fulfilling their job on the onside kick, their game is over. So, for whatever reason, I tend to believe that just New England's playing better football, right now. Down 2 touchdowns to Baltimore. Baltimore, everything is just clicking, and they didn't panic, and they just came back and came after them and was able to pull away. And then the same thing last week, just really not a contest, just beat the Indianapolis team. So, New England is pretty solid right now. I guess that's what's kind of staying in my head is those two playoff games. I didn't think Seattle was maybe as dominant as maybe I expected them to be.
Do you feel like similar to last year? Do you feel like the NFC was head and shoulders better than the AFC this year?
I do. I did think that. I just think Green Bay and or Dallas could have easily represented the NFC, quite honestly, and I think AFC. I don't know. New England was the only one that really kind of gave you any kind of inclination. Denver, obviously, there was some injury issues that was evident with Peyton. Something was missing, and the last month of the season kind of showed that they weren't themselves. And pretty much everybody else, Cincinnati, kind of they are who they are. Indianapolis is not ready yet, and Baltimore, just kind of. Was Baltimore? Do we think Baltimore was the second best team in the AFC this year? I don't know. But I just think the NFC was pretty darn strong. But I just think New England's pretty much head and shoulders in the AFC.
Jake Delhomme, our guest, ESPN 1420 and .com. It's the Great Scott Show. You mentioned the Panthers earlier. First time ever, Jake, the NFC South had a repeat division winner 2 years in a row. Panthers won it. And the quarterback now, Cam Newton, where we were talking earlier about Russell Wilson, and you mentioned a few guys that you feel are elite, like Rodgers, Manning, and Brady. Where do you put Cam among the NFL quarterbacks right now?
I think he's in the top 10. I really, truly believe that. I think just because of his physical stature and his running ability and his ability to extend the play. This year I was looking to see a different Cam, or really kind of take over Cam. Being they lost Steve Smith and things of that nature, but the off-season ankle surgery I know was a little more severe than maybe what was let out to be, and then the rib injury he had in preseason. He just didn't look himself, I think, most of the year, and I think that affected a lot of things with his mechanics throwing the football and then the car wreck, and so I think he's a really good football player. I would like to see him improve in the pocket. That's what you want to see the next step. Some accuracy issues and things of that nature, and that's what this offseason should be good for. Not having to have a surgery and things like that. And they're going to shore up some pieces, I would believe, this year. And I would think for them, they would certainly be extremely disappointed if they don't win the NFC South again for the third year in a row. To me, they would be the favorites, going into this year, 2015 season coming up. So it'll be a big test because this is the contract year.
Obviously you follow the organization closely. I know you still have plenty of friends in the organization. How involved are you in it? Is it just kind of from an outsider perspective, following it closely, or are you involved at all? And I get that you're not making decisions or anything like that, but I guess what I'm asking is, does anyone from the organization call and ask you your opinion on anything anymore, or is it just kind of, look, they gave me a shot, I had some great years with them, and I'm more a fan than anything else?
You know what? I still stay extremely, extremely close to the organization. I'll be quite honest with you. Many people, and obviously the players are kind of drifting into retirement. There's only a handful that I played with still there. But I do try to head back for games. I was able to go back a couple of times this year to Charlotte, and I stay in contact with a lot of the people in that organization. But that they call for advice or whatnot, that's not the case. Those guys in those front offices, that's 24/7 job. But I do follow along very closely, and I do keep in contact with many people there.
Your old coach John Fox, I'll be honest, Jake, I was surprised when Denver let him go. Not really sure what happened with him and John Elway, but he didn't take long for him to land on his feet. It might be his third head coaching job, but he hasn't spent a year outside of being a head coach in, 14, 15 years. Your thoughts on John Fox, his time in Denver, his departure there, and his new gig with the Bears?
Well, I think there was maybe it was things were maybe starting to come out in Denver even before they lost in the playoff game. I don't know if it was a power struggle with Elway or whatnot, or a different direction they wanted to go in. But the way it looks now is that obviously Elway wanted to maybe put his final touches on the organization, and I think he made a great hire in Gary Kubiak, someone obviously he was very comfortable with. But John's a winner. Any way you look at it, John, he'll turn that Chicago into a winner. And very happy to see that he got that job. I think Ryan Pace, who I think really has done things the right way, started at the bottom in the NFL. I was actually still with the Saints when Ryan first came on, and been on Ryan for over a decade, and just to see the progress he made, and for someone like him to get a premier job like Chicago at a young age, but then also have someone like John Fox, to be quite honest, just fall into his lap. I think that was a win-win. John will bring a certain amount of toughness to that football team, and he'll bring a certain amount of he just kind of commands respect. And it's not about, hey, I'm the head coach, you're going to do as I say. It's just more of the way John treats people, and he treats them like men, and he wants smart, tough football players. And he's going to get those guys just to play for him, and you don't want to let him down. That's the biggest thing with John. He's he's going to tell you the truth, be it good or bad. You might not like it, what he tells you, but at least he's honest. And that was just a huge I know that was very big in Carolina with guys. They just respected him because there was no hidden agenda. And certainly in Chicago, they still have a top 5 running back in Forte, and need that defense to be fixed, obviously. So look forward to watching him turn it around and see what they can do. But it was a surprise. But hey, this is the NFL. It's a business, and I think we see it firsthand year after year. There's always that one surprise.
ESPN 1420 and .com. Jake Delhomme has been our guest. And lastly, Jake, a week from today is signing day, and we'll be covering it from start to finish and broadcasting from the recruiting bash for UL. And how much has that changed since you played high school ball at Turlings, college ball with the Cajuns? What was signing day like back in the 90s with you, and are you kind of taken back by just how much this thing has grown?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm one of those that I think some of these kids, especially going to the big programs, they think they're just so privileged and whatnot, and I get weak to my stomach when I watch these kids, with the hats, and I'm going to choose this, and the press conferences, and I don't know. That's just, maybe I'm old school in that regard. I'm not really big into that. I think they just feel they're entitled, and I think I saw that toward the end of my career in the NFL. When rookies came in, I know when I was a rookie, I didn't talk for about 3 years. You don't say a word. You go last in line for everything. And I had somebody like Jerry Fontenot, Lafayette native, veteran with the Saints, and I just, I wouldn't talk, I wouldn't say a word, and my locker was somewhat around his, and there was just a respect that you had. And now these kids come from programs where they've been put on a pedestal. They're at these programs with unbelievable facilities, and they get all these things, and it's a sense of entitlement. And I think it's trickling down to the high school level. But obviously that's it's what works nowadays. That's what kids want, and things of that nature. I think you look at Oregon, a college like that with the backing of Phil Knight and the facilities that they have, and the access to the uniforms and the different color helmets, and I was just excited to get my pair of Converse at UL, and let's just play. So it's things have changed, and that's the times. We have to change with them, and it's certainly not going to go back. Because it's driven so much by the media, and obviously there's some financial aspects to it that produce money in that regard. So
money talks.
It is what it is, and it's the way of the world. But I'm more so, hey, I don't know. I just think less splash, I guess you could say, would be a good word for me.
Less splash, more steak, less sizzle, right?
That's well. No, a lot less sizzle, exactly. We don't need a dance after every play we make, but if we're going to do it, after you get burned or there's a penalty, why don't you dance for me again? That's something that always kind of I always believed in.
What was your signing national letter of intent? What was that like? Do you even remember?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I went to school that morning. I signed in the library, and
Went back to class.
probably went back to class, and I
Yeah.
probably had basketball practice that day. I mean, that was it. It's from what I remember. I would probably think that was the extent of it.
Jake Delhomme has been our guest. Always a pleasure, my friend. I guess my only two other questions is, one, how's the horse racing going, and two, how's the eyesight?
Eyesight's fantastic. Horse racing, things are well. Can't complain. Staying busy, and had a good 2014, a very good, and I'd like to keep it going in 50.
There you go, 2020, my friend. Always a pleasure, Jake. I know you're busy and with business stuff, with horse racing stuff, and, of course, with being a dad. So really appreciate the time. I enjoy talking to you Super Bowl week. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for sharing the knowledge.
Okay.
And
I appreciate it, but I have a question. Who's your Super Bowl pick?
you know what? I'm going to pick the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go. Maybe I shouldn't go opposite of Jake Delhomme, but I'm going to say the Seahawks. I kind of feel like, similar to you, I just feel like the NFC is much better. And I remember Seattle last year. The Saints gave them a really tough game, and San Francisco did, but they were at home. They were able to get by, and then they just kind of were feeling it in the Super Bowl. And obviously, they were very fortunate to win against Green Bay, and so many crazy things had to happen for them to do it. But I like their defense a little more, and I just think they're a better football team. When the playoffs started, I felt like they were going to repeat. And what I find more interesting, I guess, is I've been asking folks a lot this week who they're rooting for, and I think for some of the average football fans around here, I've gotten a lot of, well, I'm not really crazy about either team, but I kind of like Russell Wilson, so I guess I'm going for the Seahawks. But a lot of folks around here are just like, I guess I have to root for somebody, but I'm not really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think it's the two best teams, so we'll see. There is a little UL flavor connection, so to speak. Carl Smith, old coordinator at UL back in the 70s, and longtime NFL coach. He's the quarterback coach in Seattle. So, I know Carl will one day retire to Lafayette. So that is the Cajun connection. So if Seattle does win, it's always, a good thing for someone who with ties to the Cajuns.
Well, who are you personally rooting for in this matchup?
You know what? I have coaches, friends on both staffs that I know well, but probably Seattle more so, a little more connection. 4 or 5 of the guys in the front office, some of the scouts were in Carolina. Dan Morgan, the longtime linebacker at Miami that played for us in Carolina, he's also there. Assistant special teams coach I played with in Cleveland, Nick Thornton. The GM in Seattle I've gotten to know very well from his time in Green Bay, just over the years. So probably a lot more connection with the people in Seattle. So, that would be the sentimental pick, for those guys.
Jake Delhomme has been our guest, man. Hey, I can always talk football with you for hours, my friend, but I don't want to keep you any longer because I know you got stuff to do. But we appreciate the time. This area loves you and really respects your opinion, and they always enjoy when we bring you on the airwaves, so I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, man. We'll see you down the road.
Okay, bye-bye.